Going to be your host for your 3 o'clock panel, as all the other panels as well. Thank you for joining us again at the first Monaco ComicCon Prelude. We're going to be back here next year doing all these things. It's going to be bigger and brighter, and I think we're going to have some of the amazing guests we've had this time come back and have some new ones. It's going to be super fantastic, and we are so excited that you joined us for the first one of many to come. So it's Sunday, which is always a happy and a sad day because we've had such a great weekend, but it also means that it's nearing the close. But we still have a lot more fun panels. Don't forget, after this one, we've got one more, the group, and then we have Scott Eastwood at 6:30. And then there is the screening tonight of the movie Saturday Night, which is the making of the Saturday Night Live, which was pretty cool. The first episode ever made. So without further ado, I would like to bring out some of my amazing, talented friends. Samm Levine, Lucas Grabeel, Rob Morrow, Cynthia Geary, Darren Burrows, and Stephen Howey.
This is where you applaud.
I appreciate the dance. I did have Jedediah do a run jump thing, so
Yeah.
you know.
No, that's athleticism. Mine was silly.
Oh, okay, got it.
We're just clowns.
It's true. I do know this. So, well, thank you guys for joining me here today. So I thought it would be fun to just kind of start out and say, like, you know, as kids, what was a TV show that really sticks out in your mind that really potentially maybe either inspired you to be an actor or just something you remember just loving so much, so completely that you know you're like, one day I'd love to do that because of this?
Northern Exposure.
You stole my answer.
I mean, it was
Thanks
right
a lot.
there.
It was
Teed it up.
just
Are you saying
right
we're
there.
I'll go. I love this question because I was inspired by many shows. First, it was The Honeymooners, Jackie Gleason, and then Three's Company, John Ritter. That was amazing, and those two I think were the main ones for me.
So weird thing is I grew up without a TV, so I'm not sure.
Brag about it.
I love Lucy.
Okay.
I love Lucy. Lucille Ball is the best. And Carol Burnett show.
Yeah, all these shows actually that everyone mentioned, but mine was Lost in Space. I used to run around the neighborhood in polo shirts and ski pants and play out the characters. That was a big one.
I'd say Seinfeld was a big one for me. I loved that. I also like animation was huge. Not necessarily television series, but all the Disney classic animated films. They were my babysitters, and I couldn't wait to. That was where the dream of doing voiceover for animation came from, for sure.
Meet the Press. If you know, you know.
Northern Exposure, Meet the Press. That's your answer?
The big two.
Big two.
All right.
The old one too.
Fantastic. What do you think the hardest challenge is about making a TV show? And it doesn't have to be from it could be just a perspective as an actor or, from any other perspective on set. But what do you think is the hardest part?
I think it's really, when you create a show, there's obviously the creators and the writers who are, working with the actors to develop these characters and the storylines and everything. But there's also a lot of turnaround with the directors coming in and directing different episodes, and continuing on the through line of the overall arcing of the story and the overall arc of each character, and working with different people to tell that story. Obviously, a lot of times you have people come back and direct several episodes, but I think keeping that through line, and a lot of times you don't know how long the television series is going to last, so you have an idea of where it's going to go, but you don't know maybe all of the points along the way that you're going to take to get there. So to keep that through line consistent with working with different people it's fun. It's a fun challenge, but it's a bit of a challenge.
I think the pace of television shooting, you know, or dramas anyway, is intense. You know, and you end up shooting all your scenes in one location, so everything's out of order. So kind of to what your point is, like keeping track of where it comes in the story arc, so that you're making sure you're in the right emotional spot is tricky. And when it continues, the grind of it. And to not get complacent for me is a thing, because it's you know, it's almost like the system doesn't want you to do anything different or try anything. You know, it just wants you to keep going, keep the train moving, and to not get complacent is one of the hard things.
For me, I love working, and when you're on the set and on stage, or you know, whether it's television or movie or live stage, that's the fun part. The waiting is the hard part. Waiting to go on, waiting in your trailer, waiting to get your next job, trying to get your next job. That's work.
Either of you want to take that?
What was your question?
Just what do you think the hardest part about making a TV show is?
Well, one of the big differences between film and television, for me, I don't know if it's difficult, but is with film, you read a script and you sign on to a project, and you know what the beginning is and the middle and the end. There's a leap of faith doing television. You might get the pilot, you might get the first few episodes, but if it goes on further than that, so there's a lot of trust, I think, required to work with who you're working with and where they're going to take you and your character, and it might be someplace you didn't necessarily sign on for.
I think when the catering's terrible, I don't like it when my trailer's not, you know, like a double banger. Like I need a big trailer.
You're a tall guy, so I understand that.
I don't like wardrobe departments. I don't like makeup or hair. I don't like background performers. I don't like actors.
Okay.
I don't like myself.
Was there anything you do like?
No. The hardest part for me is learning everybody's name. There's like 150 crew members on a TV show, and you're a jerk if you don't remember everybody's name.
That's true, Seth.
Exactly.
My first panel today, Daniel Logan kept calling Mitch Sam because he thought his name was Sam, and Mitch finally goes, "Who are you talking to?" So,
It's always nice to be talked about.
if obviously, you know, a lot will depend on a project and the role, and you know how much money you're getting paid, all those things. But if just kind of coming down to just kind of overall, what would you prefer to do? Or what do you like doing more, film or television? And like, you know, why? Like just from a sort of creative perspective.
I feel like I have to have a mixture, because if I do the same thing over, if you do a string of movies over and over again, it works one muscle and it gets tired. You know, if you do a television series for a long time, you have that security, you're not worried about, you know, when the next job is going to come around, but then you always want what you don't have. So you're thinking, oh man, it'd be so nice to like do a movie and then have a little break, or you know, going on a vacation, or doing just any other job, play another character. But I think that's the beauty of the beauty and the hardest part about being an artist is that you never really know what the next day is going to be, and keeping it fresh and changing it up is for me, that's what I have to do. Otherwise, I'll get complacent and get bored, and then my heart won't be in it.
It's movies for me are what I like about them is this, again, when it's coming back to the schedule, and it's you have more time to kind of pursue excellence. And television, once that train gets going, it's just hard to try something new. You know, on a movie schedule, you can kind of play around and explore different ways of doing a scene. So I guess if I had my druthers, that schedule is more interesting to me. But I also do a lot of theater, so theater is really for an actor. You know, they say the movies is director, medium, television, the writer, and the theater is for the actor. And that I really get off on that. You know, where you have a performance and you're in charge of it from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. And so I like theater a lot.
Cynthia? And maybe it's because I've, the TV projects that I've done have been the most successful. Hey, who is it, Rob?
I left it here.
Oh, jeez.
Hello?
Hello? Who's calling?
Hello?
I guess somebody else.
Hello? Somebody left their phone. No, this is his phone, and he left it here. Who is it? Whose phone is this? Who are you calling?
Is it Steven?
Are they trying to reach me about my car's extended warranty? Those guys are aggressive.
He left it on stage. He left his phone on stage.
But don't worry, you're not interrupting anything.
We got people out there, so. Chloe's mom?
All right, did we, I was gonna say TV, and the reason is, I think you get, I like the being comfortable, because I do feel like I can do anything and try anything, because I know these people and I trust them so much, and there's not the pressure of, I'm gonna blow this scene, and they've spent all this money on this, I mean, they've spent a lot of money for you to be there, but once you're on a show that's gone for a while, I mean, like, it's your family, and so I feel super comfortable trying anything, and yeah, so I enjoyed it.
I think they're both really different, and they're, for film, you usually go on location, you can immerse yourself in the character and in the part and the people in the project. TV tends to be a little more like a day job. I think they're both difficult from an artist perspective. If one is an artist, I don't know that I am, but in that you've got, literally 150, 180 people there, and every one of them thinks they have an opinion that matter, and some of them do, their opinions do matter, but very rarely you always do what you want to do, but very rarely does it come out in the final analysis as you thought or pictured. It's like a big ballroom dance as opposed to dancing alone somewhere, I think.
I like both. I just like to work. I just like to be on set and I try to make the crew laugh and have a good time. And if I'm making people laugh that don't want to laugh or care, then I know I'm having a good time. And that's it. Just have a good time, work, play, get paid. So I like both. I like TV and movies.
I prefer infomercials. Look, those chickens are going to get cooked one way or another. And with the exciting products I'm here to tell you about today, you will never waste another minute cleaning a dirty pan.
I've been wasting so much time.
So much time.
In black and white. Every time I waste time, it's
Always in black and
always
white.
in black and white.
I invented that. Go ahead, Lani.
Thank you again, Samm, for your serious answer. Appreciate it.
Yep.
I noticed that, a lot of TV shows, especially ones that are just really beloved, that fans, a lot of times, like the last season or the last few episodes, and I'm not talking about any show in specific, just kind of like as a whole, like fans a lot of times don't end up liking it. And I was just curious if you think, what you think is it just that the show's ending, or if it's more something to like, do you think it's just hard to wrap up shows really, that especially ones that people love, and because there's always a way to keep the story going, in a way from a writer's perspective, but.
You're never gonna win. You wrapping up a show, like writing it, and how all fans are
Yeah, like
upset
one
by
like
it.
Shameless that ran for 9 seasons, or Northern Exposure that
No,
ran.
yeah, because I think the fans have an interpretation of how things should end, and the writers know the story in a different way. So there's really no winning about how to, and maybe the writers don't want to do that for their own sanity. You know what I mean? So ending a show like Shameless. There was a lot of people upset about how it ended, and one of the characters didn't come back for the final season, which changed the dynamic of it. But I think it's a losing battle. I mean, if a show can get on the air, that's a success, and if you do have a fan base, you already won there. So, but a lot of these shows that end, look, everybody's got an opinion about how a show, what characters should be together, what characters should go.
It's also.
Oh no, please, Rob, go ahead.
It's also, there's different examples, right? Like, if a show ends, like if you finish the season and you don't know, they're waiting to decide, sometimes it just ends, and there's nothing you can do about it because they decide not to pick it up. But when a show knows it's going to end, it's interesting, just like there's examples, like the two come to mind for me. One is The Sopranos, which was such a controversial ending, but in retrospect, and I remember feeling like, just like, it was so abrupt the way it ended, but in retrospect, I think it was a kind of genius way to end a show. But then I'm thinking of Succession, which kind of liberated the writers. They were able to, because I kind of joke that Shakespeare couldn't write 100 great episodes. And any series I've done, including Northern Exposure, personally for me, there were maybe 10 or 12 great ones out of that 110. And so when a show's going to end, it allows the writers to really come up with something clever. And I think to your point, Steve, it's a lot of people will be frustrated, but I thought Succession did a great job of it. And then there are shows that just piss people off.
Lost.
I think the trick is to just not let the show end.
Yep.
Which is why my favorite series, Meet the Press, still on the air, 72 years and counting. Never gonna end. Don't have to worry about it.
Anyone else?
I think it was perfectly said.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes with films, obviously, there's films like Star Wars that have, kind of huge fan bases that are very intense, there's a lot of passion there. They have clubs and things, but most of the time you see that with TV shows. So I'm just curious, I have my own thoughts, but what your guys' thoughts are on why that kind of takes place with television way more than movies. Because you can go and see a great movie and then you'll kind of be like, and maybe watch it again 5 years later. But a lot of times people say, oh my God, I started the show over again, and they'll watch them over and over, and they feel almost like they know the characters, and that they're, that you might be a friend that they could call up, they know those characters so well. And what do you think about
I
that?
got an opinion on that because I came up before the blurring of, I think things are a little more blurred now with Netflix and streaming, but it used to be you go to the theater to see a film. On TV, you sit, especially if your show's on in the evening, people are sitting around watching in their underwear after they're feeding their kids, or having had dinner, and the only people there are their family, and so they feel like they know you as an actor in a different way, in a private way, and that you're much more accessible than when they're fully clothed, going to the theater, going out of their home to see a film. And I think I saw I'd done a number of films before Northern Exposure that were pretty big, like Cry Baby and Casualties of War, that I would get recognized for on the street. But Northern Exposure, the recognition was completely different. Meeting the fans. Not so bad, but they had a right to you. They had a right to talk to you in a certain way because you had been in their home.
I think they feel like they know you from TV because there's a lot of undiagnosed psychosis, and they have a hard time discerning reality from fiction. And that's how I met my first several girlfriends in LA. They all insisted on calling me my characters' names, and they were very attractive, so I let them run with it.
Which character, Sam?
Mostly the characters I played on That's So Raven and Entourage, which, when I die, I'd like those to be on my headstone.
Lucas, do you have an answer?
Well, I mean, my biggest projects that I've been a part of were TV movies. So it's kind of a mixture of the two. I mean, people call me Ryan much more than they do Lucas when they meet me on the street. I do have a lot of fans from Switched at Birth, and that's been lovely. I mentioned the other day that it's really cool because of that show to meet deaf people in the real world and be able to communicate with them and share that same experience that I have with speaking and hearing people. And that's a beautiful thing that wouldn't have happened if it was just, if I would have done a movie, probably learned a little sign language for it, and then it would have been done. But since 6 years of time, living in that character and being around that culture, it was a beautiful gift. And yeah, I mean, same thing, everyone who knows me from High School Musical, time and time again, it's like, oh, we had slumber parties and premiere parties and birthday parties and everyone, it was such a community thing, and because it was at home, the third movie was in theaters, which was a nice little ramp up, but that's just so uncommon, it doesn't normally happen that way, but it never really, I mean, it was a phenomenon in itself, but yeah, the fact that you're sitting around with your friends and singing and dancing along to the thing, it has that connection. You feel like you're a part of it.
Well, I think movies are 2 hours of people's lives, and for a long-running television series, I mean, we've been in people's lives for 5, 9 years, and people mark special occasions in their life. I mean, I think we've all had fans come up and say, my wife and I, watched this when we were raising our children, or we got through law school this way, or we did this or that, and they mark, special occasions, momentous things, and changes in their life because you've been in their life for years. I think you're exactly right on that, for sure.
I was curious if any of you had done a pilot that, one that you can talk about that never got picked up, that you just thought was so good, and if you could tell us a little bit about it, because obviously, for those of you who don't know, that a lot of times pilots get made and they never get picked up, so they're never seen and they kind of go away. And just curious if there was anything you were like, this was amazing and it should have made it.
I've been in a lot of terrible pilots that definitely should not have been picked up, and they weren't. But I was on a show, this is not a joke answer, I was on a show and it was a great pilot and it got picked up. And, oh, they're not fans. And the show didn't even get the back 9 order, and it was called Selfie. And it was on ABC about 10 years ago.
I was on an episode of that.
Fantastic.
I know what you're
I knew you looked familiar. It was a very funny show. A very well written, very funny show that just had a terribly unfortunate title that I think turned a lot of people off from ever watching it. Yeah. There you
Yeah, and
go,
I
sort of an
remember
answer.
they aired the first 8 episodes and they streamed 2 more and that was it. And there were, I think, more made that they never.
We made 12 plus the pilot, that's it.
I've only been in one pilot that didn't get picked up. Humble brag. No, I've only 2 shows. I've done 2 pilots, and one got picked up and one didn't. And yeah, I thought it was a David E. Kelly show. It seemed like a home run, but it didn't get picked up. I was, sad, and then I watched it and I was like, yeah, that was pretty bad. So. But pilots pilots are hard. It's hard to encapsulate a bunch of characters in a story and begin that thing and hit it out of the park when you haven't had the time to get to know the characters and the people that you're working with and get that family together. So yeah, it's a miracle anytime a show gets picked up.
Which is, it's interesting because Northern Exposure didn't have a pilot, and I wonder if it was a pilot, would it have been picked up? They did 8 shows off the bat, and nowadays a lot of times they don't do pilots, especially on the streamers. They just pick up 6 or 8 shows, and it gives them a chance to really develop the story and see if there's something there. Pilots they're rarely good. If you go back and look at a show you love and you look at the pilot, it's just so. They're trying so hard to figure it out, and no one knows exactly what it is. So it's. But to your point, to your question, for me, almost everything I do, I fall in love with at a certain point. I feel like that's part of it, like you have to. And so I'm surprised when people don't like it, or it turns out bad, because for me, I have to kind of love it like a kid or something.
I was taking a poll of who'd done sitcoms, and I think most of us have. I did a sitcom that made 7 episodes and only aired 2, and it shouldn't have. And Sam's the only person who's ever seen it.
I still have the episodes on VHS.
What was the show? It's called You're the One, with Elon Gold, who is a stand-up comic that is one of Sam's idols or mentor or something.
It's a mentor, yes,
Yeah.
old friend.
Mentor. Darren, do you have one that
I'd forgotten about it until we started talking about this, but I did do a pilot. There was a Vietnam War thing that we shot in Hawaii, and it's read really well, and I thought it was really well, but there were a lot of characters, and I think associating myself with Lucas's comments, it was just too much to try to, I think we even did a 2-hour pilot, but it was just too much and too many characters when you saw it to bring it together into a cohesive, where you could understand where it was going, and you could see when you saw it why it just didn't come together like it did on the page.
I did a pilot called The Beast, and it was a double entendre of a ladies' man that was also a veterinarian. And I thought it was going to go. I was like, this is it. I'm gonna play this lascivious veterinarian, and I don't know why it didn't go, but it didn't. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like, lightning in a bottle. You never know what's gonna work and what doesn't.
They should have put that on right after Pins and Needles. No, that's the show about the pro bowler who's addicted to heroin. Thank you. Thank you.
Sam, I'm not even afraid to ask them. This year is the 25th anniversary, or is it next year? Okay, this year is the 20th anniversary of Freaks and Geeks, which only ran 1 season.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Yeah.
But it's, obviously like shows that ran for 9 seasons. And 6, 11 seasons? Shameless ran for 11 seasons?
Oh, I thought I was talking about The Beast.
11 seasons. 11 seasons, and Northern Exposure 6 seasons. But Freaks and Geeks still gets talked about with 1 season.
Yep.
25 years ago, and I'm just curious what you think, why it's still such a, and what happened
It's obvious.
that you remember? Oh, Sam, yes, besides you, Sam.
It wasn't the other cast members. It was.
I don't even
obviously-
remember who else was on that show. Do you?
I think there was a.
Where are they now?
Yeah. The reason
There
that
were a bunch
is,
of nobodies.
there's a handful of shows that were only on briefly, that people still talk about. My So-Called Life is another one of them. And I think the reason is anyone who has made a point to see those episodes immediately can see how good the show was. And then they know, oh, this is a tragedy that this didn't run for 10 years. And one of the benefits of only running 18 episodes is we didn't have to, the writers were never forced to guess, are we going to be on 4 seasons, 8 seasons, 10 seasons, and start really deliberately pacing the story. So we're very lucky in that sense that people, you know, I think it's sort of an unfair advantage to us to compare Freaks and Geeks to a show like Lost, where it's like, no, Lost had no idea how long they were going to go. It's deeply shrouded in mystery. The writers were guessing, and there's a whole season in there that fans were like, oh, it just felt like it was dragging. So, you know, there's that. And, you know, also, I think I was shirtless in an episode of Freaks and Geeks. That was probably why people still talk about it. It's my bare 17-year-old chest.
Steve said that's probably why it got canceled.
No, that's why we got Emmy nominations, I think, and 1 win. Yeah, we won an Emmy for best casting. Feather in my cap.
I know some of you have done a lot of cons. I know Lucas especially. I've been asking everybody this today, though. I know some of you, this is kind of your first con, so maybe you'll have to think a little harder on the answer. But since this is the Monaco's first Comic-Con, what sort of advice would you give to someone who's never been to one, who might be thinking about coming next year? Either like something they should know, or you know, just a tip.
As an audience member?
Yeah, as an attendee.
As an attendee, let your freak flag fly. Be yourself, and know that it's a safe space. Because of all the freaks and geeks here, it's a good place to be. And I was just telling someone earlier today, the one of the most beautiful thing about Comic-Cons is the love. We all are here because we're fans of something, and we've been affected so positively and entertained so much so that we want to go and experience it in another dimension. And getting to have this specific time where we're talking with someone, it's not just bumping into them in a restaurant or in an elevator somewhere on the street. We have a dedicated time to swap stories and share anecdotes and share that love. And it's all about the joy of the things that we love. And yeah, it's great. So wear comfortable shoes and yeah, get ready to have fun.
I think it's important to have a safe word. That's good advice no matter what you're doing, but especially at a con.
Just life advice.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. How about the newbies? Rob, Cynthia, Darren, and Steve, this is your first con.
Taking notes from Lucas and Samm right now.
Yeah.
I would say shower, make sure you're hydrated, and yeah, eat something, because you're going to burn a lot of calories walking around.
It's good
Comfortable
advice.
shoes. Comfortable shoes.
I would say everybody's really friendly and warm, and you. That's, you know, we're all here to have fun and have a good time and meet each other, and everyone's very approachable. So don't be shy.
Rob?
I just defer to what these guys said.
Darren? Or you're just gonna?
I'm busy thinking of my safe word right now.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you guys joining me here today. Don't forget, we're going to take a quick picture before you guys leave, but we thank you guys so much for coming out
You've
today.
been amazing. Thank you so much.
And
Thank
you guys have been so wonderful. One more time, Samm Levine, Lucas Grabeel, Rob Morrow, Cynthia Geary, Darren Burrows, and Steve Howey.
It rang, but
Your mom called.
Your mom called. Call your mother.
One for you wear your ass.